wake up, it's time to rise and sing the praise of Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's time to rise, to sing, to shout, to bring him all your heart. He'll do the bigger part if you will only make a start. It's time to give him all your heart, and only you can make a start. Wake up!
Welcome to an 8-part inspirational devotional series entitled The NEWSTART Solution. For 8 consecutive days, we will be talking about the greatest long-term solution to health-related problems, especially during this time of pandemic. As you wake up each day and have your 7 minutes with God, you will be blessed with great suggestions, proven viewpoints, and experiential facts regarding the best solution for health crisis in these pandemic times. Again, the NEWSTART Solution. Joining you in this timely devotional is Brother Noy Gonzaga, your online inspirational evangelist and health lecturer, ready to be God's humble mouthpiece for this moment. For our 5th offering, let us talk about temperance. T in NEWSTART stands for temperance, at least the first T. So that we will not be lost in the broadness of this topic, we will focus our inspirational learning in 4 questions. Question number 1. Are we having temperance in our mental life? Question number 2. Are we having temperance in our physical life? Question number 3. Are we having temperance in our spiritual life? And question number 4. Are we having temperance in our social life? These questions might be common ones, but the greater question is, are we really heeding the temperate counsels given to us to completely make us healthy and competent during these times of viral pandemic? Well, before crossing the ocean, let us first meditate on this biblical passage found in Proverbs 25 verse 28, and it says, "A person without self-control is like a city with borders and gates down." A person without self-control is like a city with its walls down. My, what a description. Friends, let us first examine what is temperance. In our simple terminology, this can be nearly translated to the word self-control. Thus, control spring out from the idea that everything in this world which can be excess is bad. Or the saying goes, too much of everything is bad. That is why there is a need to control the self. Because man is a thinking living organism and he has the capacity to process thoughts and ideas that enters his mind for the betterment of his own self. Another important point that self-control will bring to the table is the equality of the selves. Well, for a review, there are actually 4 balanced selves in man: the mental self, the physical self, the spiritual self, and the social self. Now basically, when one of the selves is over-focused and the other are under-focused, there is an existing failure of self-control. That is why our practical definition of temperance or self-control is simply the achievement of balance to the 4 basic selves of man. That's simple. Now, let us go to the questions. First here is the mental self. Well, lately in the pandemic times, there is really an element of overdoing the mental self because of the limitations of social, spiritual, and physical activities. That's why. This is where you will see that the learning of our students are now purely mental. They just have to face their computers and that is now maximum activity. Well, no more socialization because of pandemic restriction. Spirituality is also deterring as everything is already in an online program form. Obviously, physical activities are greatly affected because all exercises will be given a social distance rule and face mask requirement. Meaning, only the mental self can be done to the maximum. This is not only true with the students. Many professionals are now working from home, also in front of their computers. Thus, overdoing the mind and underdoing the other factors of self will create an imbalance resulting to severe challenges to the mental health. Today, People seem to be more irritable, lethargic, socially aloft, and executes fatigue in learning. These are already signs of a non-temperate use of the mental self. Second here is the physical self. Due to limitations of public exposure, instead of innovating situations wherein physical activities can still be done at home, man instead resulted into cutting down and dropping some of their physical activities. Those who are walking always, they stopped. Those who are going to the gym to have physical fitness, stopped their routine. Those who are figuring in regular outdoor activities such as swimming and cycling also minimize their physical rigors. The abrupt stoppage here will automatically convert to mental activity. Again, overdoing the mental self and underdoing the physical self. Thus, due to inactivity, visible obesity happens. People get fat. Not only that, laboratory details might be more ugly as due to abrupt stoppage of physical work and sedentary lifestyle occurred. This resulted to increase in blood cholesterol level, increase in blood sugar levels, increase in probability of fatty liver occurrences, and other physical untoward reversals of self-condition. Thus, when these things happen, physical temperance to self has failed a lot already. Third here is the spiritual self. The fact that physical attendance to church was affected by the pandemic restrictions does not necessarily mean that we cannot do spiritual efforts and errands for God. That is a fallacy. Some also use the online church suggestion as more time for sleeping and more time for gadget utilization. Again, an overdoing of the mental self. This is overloading of the mental self and physical self while creating anemia to spirituality. That is the fact. Why will a person stop witnessing for Jesus? If there are media that we can use, well, why not use them? Yes, we cannot see actual people, but we can use technology to our spiritual duty. We can always have online family worships for members of the family who are away. We can always pray for friends, family members, sick relatives, and acquaintances and study the Bible with pulse if we really wanted to do this with the use of technology. However, the failure of cognizance that this is possible promoted more diversion to secularization, which is a great sign of a non-temperate self-spirituality. Fourth here is the social self. If there is one self that is really affected by the pandemic restrictions, especially with the rule on social distancing, it is the social self. This was interpreted by others as isolation, as distance and distinctions of communications. Others cut ties and friendship because of the need to do so. Let us always remember, social isolation is a threat to physical and mental normality. It's a threat to normality, to be simple. We need to do socialization, even not in physical sense, but maybe through technology and other possibilities. We can still express love, even not physically, but technologically. We can still tell people we care and we are praying for them through SMS and messenger connections. The fact that many people resorted to social isolation, blaming the pandemic for this, is not a naturally occurring disability, but a sign of a non-temperate social self. Dear friends, temperance is about living a normal and balanced life. A balanced life is enjoying a distinct equal opportunity of the four selves: the mental self, the physical self, the spiritual self, and the social self. Thus, when there are imbalances happening, we should be quick to correct the scenario, or else it will become an unacceptable, or it will become a very acceptable constant, which will lead to a very intemperate life, neglecting some things you normally do with the pandemic, making it a great factor. This is underdoing some things and overdoing some things, meaning there is no equality, there is no temperance in the process. As we mentioned earlier, physical self seemed to be underdone, resulting to more excess time for mental self. The spiritual self is also underdone, resulting to non-activity. The social self is also underdone, resulting to isolation and having more time with social media. If you come to think of it, pornography, malice cannot be controlled now because media is now nearer to the children and to the teens. We can control television, but we cannot control gadgets, especially with what they want to see. If you will take this to notice, what the present pandemic did to humanity is limit physical, social, and spiritual activities and overdo, overfatigue, overutilize the mental self. This is the greatest temperance issue of the pandemic times. Let us not wait for the mind to give up before we lessen its activities and let the other selves within us step up to create the balance. Let us not wait for our physical conditions to worsen due to sedentary lifestyle resulting to lifestyle diseases, which at times are irreversible, such as diabetes and other heart-related conditions. Let us not permit that our spirituality will slowly get used to minimum functions, having spiritual exercise and duties not a priority anymore. And lastly, let us not be socially isolated in terms of social connections, because when man begins to isolate, he also disintegrate and deteriorate. Yes, dear friends, the challenge to have a temperate life, the challenge to have temperance in the four basic selves that we are having within us, causing the balance and effectiveness of life, the challenge to stay healthy in all aspects of life, the challenge to have self-control by not overdoing or underdoing things in our life during these peculiar times is not only great challenges, or are not only great challenges, but these are the ones that need a surrender to the great God, who is the master healer and master teacher, who can guide and direct us how to be effectively temperate with our lives. I hope starting today, let us try to observe the four selves immersed within us, the mental, physical, spiritual, and social selves, and let us practice temperance in maintaining a balance of life. Let us culminate this thought with a verse found in Luke 2:52, and it says, "And Jesus grew in wisdom," that is mental, "and stature," that is physical, "and in favor with God," that is spiritual, "and man," that is social. Meaning, Jesus demonstrated that a temperate life is a balance of the four basic selves within us. This is our fifth already. Fifth of 8 parts in our inspirational devotional series entitled NEWSTART Solutions. T in NEWSTART stands for temperance. This is still an advocacy and inspirational sharing through morning devotionals, because we always know that to start our day right, there is no greater way of starting great than to have 7 minutes with God this moment. Have a healthy, happy, and temperate life to everyone.
Wake up, wake up, it's time to rise and sing the praise of Jesus. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's time to rise, to sing, to shout, to bring him all your heart. He'll do the bigger part if you will only make a start. Wake up!